Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. As expected, those Ukrainian prisoners who were released on the 21st, they reported that they were tortured by the Russians. This was expected, and I wouldn't be surprised if that were true. And I'm pretty sure it could be either way. Now, I never like to be accused of things I didn't do. So sometimes when I was accused of things I didn't do, I just did it. So I guess, okay, now you can accuse me for really doing it and see if you'll really like it. So let's read this article where we have reports and statements coming from the Ukrainians that they were hurt and they were tortured, which I'm pretty sure some of them were. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda, September 22nd, 2022. Many Ukrainian prisoners endure vicious torture in Russian captivity, head of Ukrainian intelligence says. Many of the Ukrainian prisoners who were released on the 21st of September had endured particularly cruel methods of torture in Russian captivity. The source is Kirilo Budanov, head of the Chief Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, during a brief press briefing concerning Thursday prisoner swap. Quote from Budanov: "Their condition varies drastically. Unfortunately, that's true. Some of them are physically more or less fine except for being chronically malnourished. Others have endured particularly cruel torture methods. Unfortunately, the number of those who endured violent torture among the prisoners that were freed on the 21st of September is high. Many of the prisoners have endured particularly cruel torture methods." End quote. Budanov also said that different prisoners were subjected to torture arbitrarily, not based on any particular characteristic inherent in them. That means they're just animals, those guys, just for the pleasure of doing it, which I don't doubt, and I will tell you why. The extent to which the Ukrainian prisoners were subjected to torture, it was mostly determined by their location. Unfortunately, not all of them were held at the same time. In Olenivka, though maybe that was fortunate, they were held at many different facilities on temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine and in Russia, Budanov said. He explained that some of the prisoners who have been released are currently hospitalized in Chernihiv and in hospitals across Chernihiv Oblast. Now, on September 21st, Ukraine succeeded in setting 215 Ukrainian defenders free as part of a prisoner of war swap with Russia. Among the released, there were border guards, police officers, Marines, National Guardsmen, soldiers of territorial defense forces, custom officers, and civilians. In addition, we got some leaders from the Azov battalion. 5 commanders of the Ukrainian units that defended Mariupol from Russian forces are currently in Turkey under personal protection guarantees provided by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. And Russia got back Viktor Medvedchuk, who has family ties with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and 55 Russian soldiers. Well, that's good. So, if you remember, I mean, being a guard and taking the role of the position that you have changes your behavior and psychological interpretation of reality. That is, for instance, that Lucifer Effect, and that is that Stanford study, 1971. The psychologist Zimbardo, he made this experiment where he voluntarily asked students who wants to participate in the study, and it was about guards, prisoners and guards. So then randomly they were selected You are the guards, you are the prisoners. They were students at Stanford. And I think the whole thing was stopped in a few days because the guards, which were students, like normal students in a college, they started behaving and doing evil stuff and torturing their fellow students, which were, in this case, they played the role of prisoners. So imagine that you are a guard, let's say by definition, by, I don't know, that's your job. Little by little, you live in that environment, and then you are infected with this Lucifer effect, which certain circumstances make you do evil stuff. It's just the environment that produces that inside of us, releases our darkest instincts. So imagine these students that were not guards, not military, nobody died, nobody killed, nobody nothing. And they stopped after a few days the whole experiment because the things got so out of hand, and the guys, the prisoners, started displaying signs of depression, and it was awful. Just read about it. And if those students were able to do what they did, imagine the guards. Remember, imagine the Russians being in control, a guard, a military person, right? Being in control of a commander of Ukrainian Azov battalion who was called a Nazi or whatever, and knowing that those guys killed Russians like him. I don't think there was no abuse whatsoever. Now was done covertly, or overtly. I don't know. It's both. It doesn't matter. Abuse is abuse, and in this case, I believe that they were abused. Not having food, not having electricity, cold, probably lights on, music, dripping water, solitude, maybe things like this, like alone somewhere. It's just it's a lot of ways to do it without hitting anybody, without physically attacking that person. There's methods that you can do it without that. So imagine when that the cannabis girl that got that 9-year contract with Russian penitentiary because of smuggling drugs in Russia from United States. That basketball player, that woman, I can't remember her name, Brittany something. Imagine when she gets out of, when she's gonna be released. After, I don't know, a few months, she's gonna be released. She's gonna be a billionaire in about a year. She's gonna write a few books, gonna say how those guys are mistreated her, which probably they did. And she's gonna be a hero because she smuggled drugs, or heroin, because she smuggled drugs into Russia. She's gonna be hailed as a hero because she broke the law, and she's got the penalty. That's the society we live in. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.